Welcome to Blue Monday from the Blue Room with me, Les and Dave. It's a happy Monday for once. We've not had one in a while as the Toffees beat Fulham 2-0 for a nice clean sheet and we move on a little bit up the table. As ever, Blue Monday is brought to you in conjunction with Invisible Wind Factory, first big venue on the right as you go into the new ground in town on the corner of Regent Street and Regent Road. As our sponsor, they want us to mention that they are putting on Christmas parties. So if you're in charge of sorting the venue for your Christmas do, the Invisible Wind Factory is available. Entertainment highlights, they can put on DJs and live bands, Bandaoke, which is live band karaoke, street and circus performers, dancers, roller disco for up to groups of 200, quizzes and interactive games, photo ops and booths galore. So if you're in charge of sorting out your works Christmas do, give the Invisible Wind Factory a shout and see what's available. Dave, on to Fulham. Before the game, we did do a little bit at the Wind Factory as well. We did our sort of pre-match preview, which went quite well. So nice one to Dave and Paul from Falcon Blues and the two Dargans, Thomas and Paul. It was a good little turn. We sort of spoke about the match. Everyone seemed quite receptive to it in the crowd. So yeah, that could become a regular thing now, I think. But on the game, what did you make of it? It was a nice routine win, wasn't it? Which very much needed, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect it to feel so comfortable, to be honest with you, because it's a very long time since we felt that way. And you know, we still took a while to sort of settle it, but at no point did I feel any real panic. I didn't feel like Fulham had turned or counter-attacking much, and you know, people are absolutely like bursting the gut to get back. And I felt we should have scored a lot earlier than we did. I felt Barry was a nuisance for them as well. I think that was a big boost. We'll get on to what he was like when he got substituted off as well, because you know, I've got a few things to say about that. But yeah, I felt that the lineup we set up well. You're playing against a side there with Fulham. I've seen many of their fans, and Sammy James, who I talked to from the Fulhamish podcast as well, he was saying that it's quite bizarre, really, because they look like they got a squad and a settled squad to build up this season, and given how condensed the league is now, which is ridiculous if you look at that league table, by the way. We're 5 points from third, 5 points from the relegation zone. So there's, you know, it's there to be grabbed if you can. And I think Fulham are one of those sides there, but they massively disappointed on their behalf. And I think that was down to us. I think we were really competitive. There was a tempo about what we were doing with the ball. Retained it quite well, and everything was much more settled, I would say, than that Sunderland game, which, yeah, I mean, we've said many times we should have been out of sight after maybe about 20 minutes in that game, but everything still felt quite a bit of a panic in that game. Everything didn't feel like it settled down, or we got into any sort of certain rhythm with the ball at our feet, and you know, you're playing long balls rather than keeping it at feet and stuff. And I'd like to say this is a massive credit for David Moyes, and plenty of people got onto me saying that I'm up David Moyes' arse, which is, it does make me laugh quite a lot, because I was one who resented him probably more than most for many, many years after he left Everton, given the fact that his career looked like it was going nowhere. But what he's got Everton playing now is that we're efficient with the ball at our feet. I don't think that, look, the long ball's there because you've got a big centre forward, which we've spoken about at length about what their qualities and lack of quality is when you're playing balls up to them. But we're good at keeping the ball on the floor. We're good at passing the ball, especially we're getting into the final third there, that we're laying it off and moving. There's ideas, there's things about it. It's quick as well, which is a different thing about Grealish. I'd like to go on, which I think is really interesting. But the overall feeling after that game was it was thoroughly deserved. And I think a lot have said it. I'd probably go along with that, maybe being our best performance of the season so far.
Yeah, I think it's the only time we've performed for 90 minutes, really. Fulham did have a part to play in that, though, because I mean, as good as we were, we played quite well. They were very, very poor. They didn't really offer anything at any point in the game. If I was a Fulham fan, I would be a little bit worried about that. Like you said, you know, they've got a settled squad. It's a decent squad. They just didn't perform at all, and it feels like that's what they've been like all season, because I think they're on 11 points, aren't they? So they're 3 points off the relegation zone, or 2 points or something. So they're right down there. It was a needed window because it sort of pulls us away from that crowd. And like you said, we're bang in the middle of mid-table, which is probably, like I said last week, we're probably about par where we should be. I think there's been because the performances haven't been there and we've let teams back into games, it's been a bit frustrating. But Saturday, it was nothing like that. We were fine for the whole game. I think James Garner coming in at right back made a big difference to things. I don't know if anyone saw Mick Greenall's stats he put up at the weekend. It was sort of a heat map, essentially, of when James Garner's playing right back and when Jake O'Brien's playing right back. And there was just so much more attacking intent down that right-hand side, which really helped the team. I think it made the team look a lot more balanced. And yeah, it just sort of became a more complete performance, and the team looked more balanced and better going forward, better in defence. But sorry, clean it out there. But yeah, it was good to see it. I think we needed that performance and results because things were getting a bit touchy. And I think we can now start to look up the league because we've got a lot more fixtures coming up that are going to be a lot tougher now. As I said, I don't think Fulham offered too much in that game. But you can only beat what's in front of you. And there's some interesting performances from some players. Like you said, we'll have a look at Thierry Barry. I thought he did really well, first half especially. We got him into the play more. He was coming deep to get the ball, and he was laying it off and making runs. And we've not had that from a striker all season, really. You want to talk about when he got subbed, which was inevitable. He was going to get subbed. And Rossi, the stadium announcer, tried to sub him a little bit early, which was quite funny. So I think Fulham were bringing on a sub. Rossi thought it was our sub and just shouted, coming off number 11, Thierry Barry. And he just sort of stood there and looked. Beto was still sat down with his bib on. So he knew he wasn't coming off, but he just kind of stood there like, what's going on? But when he did come off, obviously he looked disappointed. I thought it was probably the right time maybe to bring him off at that point. But he had a good game, and I think we can definitely build on that. What did you make of it?
I'm going to message Rossi about that now. You just mentioned it, he takes pride in those things, so we absolutely gutted. Well, so yeah, I mean, I thought that I was overly critical of him in the Sunderland game, but I thought rightly so at the time, because when your emotions are going crazy, I mean, I nearly broke the roof in our house when he missed that against Sunderland, and obviously that just keeps your perspective as you're set. Even if he had a world-class game after that and didn't score a goal and Everton didn't win the game, then I'd still be fuming with him. So I think, as a fan, you sort of owe yourself a little bit of leeway there. But overall, looking on that performance again, and I've started getting in the habit of rewatching our games just to see, for the next, just a bit of an experiment really on how different I take things in the way in which I'm watching them. And I felt that's definitely his best game for us. I think, he's lacking that goal. He hasn't scored a goal yet. Maybe that's the one thing that is I'm not going to say he's the polished outfit then, but he needs to score goals. There's no two ways about that. And Moyes has spoken at length about him and Beto and being open about them and honest about them. And I didn't think when Moyes said that in his press conference about, these lads, we're not writing them off, but they've got to start doing something. You know what I mean? We've got to start getting things what we've bought them for. I'm not too sure that he had that character. Obviously, we don't know him too well now, do we? Because he's not been with us that long. But given the personality he looks he is, he seemed quite is in his shell when he plays. Does Tiano Barry? And what Moyes was saying there, I thought that's the type of thing, an old school thing a manager would say to kick up the arse towards an attacking player. And I'm not too sure. Beto's a different case because you've had him a while, but with a new player, young player, somebody you paid a lot of money for, pressure on him already, I'm not too sure that was the best way for Moyes to say that. But then quite clearly he did react. He played well. He probably should have scored. He got a cracking assist by not scoring and completely missing the ball. But yeah, I felt he held the ball up well. I think he showed us much more of an example of what he can do with his feet. I think he can lay it off. I think I mentioned it when we got Beto, and I think he's very similar in that, if you remember, slightly older fans might remember Paolo One-Chop when he was at Derby.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned it a few times where he just looked like he wasn't a footballer, but then he'd get the ball and do something absolutely outrageous, and you were like, where's that been? Yeah. And I get that vibe from him. And he's quite clearly a talented lad. So I was pleased for him. But the sub, I do have a bugbear with that, the sub there, because I can understand you fuming when you don't show it. Don't show it to the crowd. Don't show it to a camera. go and have that word with the manager. And did Moyes was not shouting at him, was he? As he came off, a few people were saying.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't notice.
I'm not too sure if he was shouting at him or anything. But if I was a manager, I'd be screaming at him. Because I'd be like, well, you've just had a cracking game. I'm not taking you off for the reason that you were playing poorly. I'm taking you off because I want to I want to sting out the game. I want to give them a different option. Yes, people will say, well, you've put better on, but I don't think that's relevant to this. You shouldn't be shaking your head and all that. And he did so, then applauded the fans on the way off. So it puts the spotlight in the manager then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And everybody's giving him a standing ovation, said, you've done really well today, lad. You know, he's looking at it and he's shaking his head. It's almost like he wants everybody to agree with him, direct towards Moyes.
Yeah.
And say, what are you playing at? Just don't do that, mate. Clap, take everything.
Yeah.
Don't Moyes hugs you, get off, sit down, and then do that in the dressing room afterwards. Maybe I'm just getting a bit old. You're a manager, Les. Would you do that?
No, you're right. You know, that sort of show of dissent really you shouldn't be doing that.
No.
And the crowd were very much behind him. It was dead noticeable
Exactly.
all day that the crowd were well behind him and like really willing him on to do stuff. There was one bit in the when he ran down the line, skinned a couple of players, and then just fell over when he tried to cross it into the box and just like.
That's what I mean. That's Paolo Guancho. That is Paolo Guancho.
It was a great bit of skill, then just ridiculous the way he fell over. But yeah, I mean, he had a good game. I don't really want to pull at this thread too much, but I'm gonna go into my weekly rant about Moyes' subs because again, I thought they were pretty bad. He brought Jake O'Brien on, stuck him at right back, and put James Garner back in midfield. Brought Irabunum off. Irabunum had a decent game, I thought. Dewsbury Hall came off, and Malin Roll came on, and Beto obviously came on for Barry. I just thought in this game, we're 2-0 up. We were never going to get beat. We were never going to throw this game at all. Perfect to throw Tyler Diblin on, I thought. Give him a run out. Maybe even Asnu if he was on the bench, which he was. Give him a go. I just thought there were options there for Moyes to like give these young players a go because it was a game we're comfortable in. And if you're not going to play them when we're, in the ascendancy that much in a game, as I said, Fulham offered nothing. It's just frustrating because that's the perfect opportunity to put these players on and see what they've got because there's no risk at all because Fulham were just never getting back into that game. The AFCON's coming up, which we'll go into in a minute. I just think he wasted a bit of an opportunity there. What do you reckon?
I think it was strange the way in which he made those subs the time, and as usual, just it baffles me every single time the way he's putting these substitutes on. Just looking at the list there, Irabunum off, Roll on. Got a lot to say about him shortly as well. Better one for Barry with 10 minutes left. That's exactly the reason why I referred to the way he was. We didn't need to do it. And then O'Brien on for the last 5, including extra time. Added on time for Dewsbury Hall. I think you're right. I think that there are a number of opportunities there after you've gone 2-0 up. But what did we go on 2-0 up just before 70, was it?
Yeah, I think so. And Alcaraz didn't get a run out either. I
was going to say that then as well.
Oh no, 81.
You scored an 81. So I mean,
it was earlier than that.
I mean, well, I think what is a good substitution there is putting Roll on for Irabunum. I think was fine. By the way, each time I've seen him, he's been quietly and sometimes really, really impressive. I don't think he's done anything wrong that I've seen him this season. So I think we're going to go on to it, obviously, with AFCON coming up, what the options are that we'll have in there. I think he's definitely in contention to be a starting midfield player when Garner's away. And yeah, the Dewsbury all finally, I mean, been quite heavily critical. I think many have. I certainly have in the last couple of weeks. Much better against Fulham, and I think I didn't have what you've said. I didn't have that in my mind before we started this morning about you do go one or two ways, don't you? Whether you think you've played really, really well or whether it's because the opponents haven't been good. And I think we're somewhere in between there because I felt they weren't able to get at us as much as what they wanted there. I thought Iwobi was going to be hassled to as he wasn't. Yeah. I thought and former Copite, Harry Wilson there. He's been really good for them for quite some time. Did not offer a thing for them. They put Adama Traore on, which for some reason, I've always wanted him to be an incredible player. I think he had the talent when he was at Barca, but then you can just see he's just an absolute weightlifter who can run quick, and that's it.
That's it. He's got nothing else.
And then Jimenez, who's nowhere near what he was before he had that horrific head injury. So, yeah, I mean, if you look at it like that, you're thinking Everton should be beating these, given what they've been like. I think at home's the kind of thing that probably make them comfortable for not going down. But nonetheless, you've still got to go and beat these, like you said, in front of you. And there was a chance for players to have, be able to sort of puff the chest out a little bit and have put themselves right into, well, this is now I want to be this level throughout the season. These are standard Premier League opposition we're going to have. If I play like this, Everton are going to be, well, they're certainly not going to be losing games. And that's what it felt like. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the substitutions again, and I think it is going to be throughout the season. So I make no apologies for us always talking about it, because there's such a massive, especially when you can make 5, Les.
I know, that's the thing, isn't it? You've got a big squad.
You can make 5, and you've got the ghost of a left back on the bench. You've got Dibbling and Alcaraz, who didn't get on. That, yeah. I mean, I don't quite get that, especially when you're looking for a bit of a fresh emphasis when it comes to certain parts of the game, when your opponent's chasing it and you still haven't gone 2-0 up. It's that kind of thing that makes you feel absolutely devastated. Similar to that starting half against Sunderland. Should have been 3-0 up and that game's over after an hour. Didn't happen. We ended up going away with a draw. That had that feeling, I think, when you're playing well enough. Didn't quite create that chance. Had 3 goals disallowed.
Well, that's
sort of get that. Do you not get that Everton feeling of, it's not going to be our day, this? Even when you 1-0 up, it's not going to be our day, this.
That's the weird thing. I never got that feeling. I just never felt threatened by Fulham at all. Looking at the stats, we had 13 shots, they had 8. We had 5 on target, they had 4. 59%, 51% possession towards 49 to them. So on paper, it was a close game, but it never felt like it at all. Just never felt they were going to get into it. And like you say, getting the 3 goals disallowed, normally you'd be thinking, it's not going to be our day. They're going to get an equaliser. It just didn't feel like that all game. And I think that's why we felt so comfortable, because we were creating chances and putting them away. Looking back, it was dead frustrating on the day, because it seemed every time we scored, the ball would go up, VAR, and they'd check it, and they'd be like, no goal. Obviously, in the ground, you can't really see what's going on. And then you see the replay, and you still can't quite work out whether it was the right decision. I think they all were, apart from maybe Dewsbury Hall. I think that was a little bit harsh when the ball's played to Barry. I don't know. I think that was the only one was maybe in contention, but I think they were all fair enough to be called off, which is a bit frustrating, really, isn't it? Because you think, just stay on side, lads.
Well, that's the thing I'm referring to there, is that it's the kind of thing that gets in your psyche, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? You start thinking, is this going to happen? And you're still only tentatively 1-0 up, and they're chasing the game. It's you're definitely seeing another goal in the match at one end or the other. It's still quite dicey, isn't it? You can play great for 80 odd minutes. We've seen it before. I was still thinking before the second. I was still thinking Bournemouth. I feel like I have Bournemouth in the head all the time. And that's what I feel like that happens when you don't take chances. Everton have always felt to me like a side that if you don't take chances, even if you 1-0 up, you'll get punished. You will be punished for it.
Yeah,
and obviously it never came to fruition for them. And then to go on and win it 2-0. Look, let's be honest. We probably should have won that game by a bigger margin than 2-0. I thought. To only have 5 shots on target as well. I mean, we had. I think people say that word loosely, and I certainly don't. But the tempo we had there was playing it through midfield. You're playing it out wide. I don't think there was as much emphasis on Grealish as much as there has been, which I think helped.
Yeah,
because definitely. I do feel there's a bit of a plateau with him now, and I think there's a couple of reasons why that is. In terms of that's the main opposition. That's the main fella that your opposition is going to look at when you're warming up, when you're looking ahead to Everton at the weekend. Jack Grealish, the first player on that sheet. It's now Ndiaye too, or it should be Ndiaye. You should be sacked as a manager if Ndiaye is not the first lad you look at when you're playing Everton, thinking you need to stop. And I felt like the things go out to Grealish, and you've got a little bit flat at times. Like I keep saying, Premier League sides will find you out. It's not like he's a brand new player in the Premier League. People know him. So he has to find something new, and that wasn't there. And then I felt Ndiaye as well. He's going to get doubled and tripled up for how good people have recognised. You see in the paper all the time, such and such a link with him and all this crap that you'll see that'll make the columns up. But that in its own sense means you've got to find other ways here, and I think we did. I think that we played with, there were lads in there who I used to think, maybe subliminally watching Everton play, that you feel as if any time one of our midfielders gets the ball, you've got to give it to Ndiaye, you've got to give it to Grealish. It's almost like they had it in their mind as well. In this one, I felt like we took a different option. We had options available to us to pass the ball to somebody else rather than get it out there.
Yeah.
And wait for them to either sprint to the byline, cut inside and knock it back. There wasn't. Dewsbury Hall available, able to pass it wide, they're able to knock it in and around themselves in the centre of the park, where we've just lacked so much of that and become so predictable that we weren't going to do it. And that brings me on to, I'm not too sure, I didn't write down an order in which we wanted to talk here, but Millen Roll looks like he's going to be a superstar to me. I've just got that feeling about him, and I didn't realise how big he is. He's an absolute beast. He's a massive, massive player. He's quick, and he looks like he wants the ball all of the time there. So speaking of Moyes, they probably look a little bit more pressure on to actually make a sub again.
Yeah, he did. I mean, when he came on, he looked a little bit shaky at first. He gave the ball away a couple of times, but then as the game went on, he was sort of fine to sort of see the game out. Yeah, I think he's going to be a really good option in midfield. Like I say, he's a big lad, which I think you do need in midfield these days. It's not enough. I mean, Garner gets away with it because he's just such a good player in what he does. But to have a big lad in there who can sort of dictate the tempo of the play, keen to get the ball forward, he's going to be a really good option and one we're going to need to use. And this is where I get frustrated with the amount of game time these players are getting, because we'll move on to the AFCON now. It's gonna potentially cause us issues because we're going to lose Garner and we're going to lose Ndiaye basically for a month over Christmas, which is like the worst time you can lose two of your key players. So it kicks off on the 21st of December and doesn't finish until the 18th of January. So it's a full month without, those two key players. In that time,
the Arsenal game, Les? Is that
the Arsenal game on the 21st of December? So you'll miss Arsenal.
No, they'll miss a couple before that because they'll go with them training, won't they, and camps and all that.
So before that, we got Chelsea on the 13th. So I reckon
probably that's the last one you would think, isn't it?
I reckon he'll make that. Miss Arsenal, miss Burnley away, Forest at home, Brentford away, Wolves at home, Villa away, and an FA Cup game. And then we've got Leeds on the 24th, so you might miss that, depending on sort of like, because you probably think they're going to get to the final, most likely, because they're a good side. So that's a long time to be without those players. And this is the time where you need to be getting your subs who are going to come in during that period. You've got to get them up to speed. And I just don't think we're doing that. And it's games like this where it was a perfect chance because, Man United's up next. Then Newcastle are a weird team. They're a good side, but they're having a terrible season. Then Bournemouth, we all know how that always ends down there. Then Forest at home, then Chelsea, like I said. So these are tough games coming up now where they're gonna be tight games. And this is where the manager looks at results and thinks, if it's a tight, and this is perfectly understandable for a manager. If a game's tight, you don't really want to bring on a player you think you maybe can't trust. So it's in games like Saturday where this is where these players should be brought in to give them game time and see what they can do. So it's going to be a big month, that isn't it, without those players?
Yeah, it's going to be massive there. And I'm just jotting this down as you're talking about what the options are when they've gone. And I know we'll be delving into this a little bit deeper than what we're talking about now this morning. But when you're looking at options there that he's got, I mean, Moyes, he'd gone to his head, Moyes would say, well, I put Dwight McNeil on the other week to have a look at how he'd be. Well, then hopefully he's gone by day one, January the 1st. But yeah, I mean, Alcaraz has got, I mean, if Alcaraz doesn't get a game when both of them are gone, then I think that's his Everton career probably gone there, given the fact you've gone and signed him permanently in the summer, because it seems to decline that much under Moyes. There's either something there that we don't know about, or he genuinely doesn't think he's any good. And we clearly know he's a good player for us, and he's an attribute. I know people have sort of jumped on the bandwagon of Moyes not playing him because of certainly at Sunderland, but also how appalling he was against Wolves, like everyone else were in the League Cup game. And then you've got Dibbling as well. I mean, that's the main one for me. I mean, if you're if you're looking at this now, and he came out last week, and I put the quote from his presser on my Twitter, and people quite rightly were coming back and saying, when people keep that tag on him as if he's a dinosaur, the exact type of thing he said is why people say it. Because he's saying, it took players a while to get going. Look at Baines back in the day. Look at John Stones back in the day. The game's not that these days. The game's not, and certainly Everton aren't that these days either. And more to the point, the reason why Leighton Baines didn't get on was because Joleon Lescott was brilliant at fullback. If it's justifiable, which people are going to say, we'll get Dave the R because you've got Grealish one side and you've got Ndiaye the other. I don't care who it is. They still need to come off earlier. There still needs to be changes made in games. The league's too good. The league's too good to just leave someone on. Like I said earlier, you'll get sides putting 2 or 3 players up against our best players, and you were doing that. That's where you've got to give him a go. I'd have took Grealish off and put him on on Saturday, and especially when you go 2-0 up with 10 left, easy time. That's the easiest time. If you're looking for a way out of being moaned at for not putting someone on, do it when you've gone 2-0 up, mate, with 10 minutes left. Didn't do it. Says he's a mile away, basically, doesn't he? If you're reading between the lines, he didn't say that verbatim. And then I'm looking at else. You're looking the options you've got there: Dribbling, Dwight, and Alcaraz. That's pretty much it there, isn't it? I think midfield you can get away with it with you, like I said there about Roll. Looks like he's promising midfield play. You can put him in there. Garner as well if he's shifting, able actually to go and sign a right back. There are options in that midfield.
Yeah, I do wonder, is this going to be a long-term thing, at least until January, when we can sign someone else? Is this going to be a long-term thing with Garner, or has he just done it to appease everyone? Because a lot of people have been calling for it. Because we're bringing Jake O'Brien on at right back towards the end of the game and putting Garner back in midfield. I felt that was a little bit weird to do that. I didn't really see the point of it. I know maybe he wants to give Jake O'Brien a bit of game time, but I don't know. It just seemed a really weird substitution to make, and there was no need for it. So I don't know if he's thinking, well, I'm going to stick O'Brien back at right back now and Garner's going in midfield because we've got other options we can use in midfield. And I just didn't get it.
I think I don't think it'll indicate to us what he's like as a manager. Another. You'd like to think he's evolved, and he has evolved as a manager. Look, don't get me wrong, he's been brilliant in general since he's been back here. But I think things have to change quite quickly in the game, and he hasn't kept up, certainly this season, from what we've seen so far. I think I look at Villa and I look at West Ham. They stick out in my mind when you look at that league table. We had those 4 points, Everton to be in the top 4 right now. And I know everyone can look at games like that, but I'm thinking the changes he could have done in that to change what that game was about. Him going back to thinking, well, it just feels like you're taking a step back if you're putting O'Brien in there at right back, particularly when you've got Garner, he was great, and he can play that role. He's comfortable in that role. How far does it have to go far for Moyes to think, well, I need him back in midfield enough to say put Jake O'Brien at right back, where that's run its course, I think, for many of our opinions. I'd like to think that he explores a good few more options before he's having to put Garner back in midfield. That's not against Garner, it's the fact that he's our best right back. Yeah, it's not a criticism of him as a midfielder, although many would, because a lot of people are a bit Marmite, isn't he? In when he's in midfield there, but there are options in and around there that he can put in. But I'll tell you something, if he does that, just sounded like joking here then, didn't I? Or no, Big Ron. Sound like Big Ron, and I'll tell you something. Or no, Keegan. I'll tell you something now. If he's got James Garner back in midfield and Jake O'Brien at right back, that's indictment for how limited David Moyes is as a manager. Because that's just it's almost like you're neglecting your job as a manager if you do that. Because I think that's the worst choice you can make out of a lot of it, apart from Dwight McNeil getting any game time.
And the fact you've got a big squad to choose from, it's about keeping those players happy as well. Because the last thing you want to do is sign a load of players for 100 million, don't play any of them, and they're all unhappy. And then it becomes resentful, doesn't it? And then that causes issues with the manager.
Well, that's another facet of it, Les, as well, isn't it? Is that you threw all this money out on players, Dribbling, for instance, and rightly are being criticised for not actually giving them a go. You're like, what's going on with recruitment? It just there's loads of little branches off that. You're thinking, well, why is that not work? Why is that not work? Someone's not doing the job right. Is he making this decision? He's making that decision. There's already like cracks on the floor that we're all looking at, thinking, yeah, that doesn't seem like it adds up too well here. Alcaraz being up there too.
Yeah.
If that comes to it, I'm thinking, what are you playing at here? Unless there's something exceptional where Garner does actually go and play in midfield and plays like Zidane. And, O'Brien goes back to how he was initially when he was playing right back.
Yeah, and I think coming into these Christmas games as well, it's fatigue as well, and players are going to be knackered, and you can't run them into the ground. We saw that with Dice, didn't we? Whereby he was absolutely running players into the ground because he wasn't changing the team himself, and it just doesn't work. The players get knackered, the performance drops off, everyone gets frustrated. You start losing games, and that Christmas period, because like you said at the start, we're 5 points off third or something, 5 points off 17th. You lose a couple of games over Christmas, or you win a couple of games, and that pushes you right up or drops you right back down the table. Although it feels like when we do win, we move up like one place or something like that. We never seem to move, do we? When we get a result, it's mad.
Well, I mean, it doesn't ask me too much at this stage, which I think, I kept on saying to people who've saying you've got to get rid of Moyes. I'm like, 9 games in, 10 games in, whatever. You need to calm down a bit here because that's how close things are. And I refer back to saying if we did took the 3 points from Villa and the 3 points from West Ham, Everton to be in the Champions League place, you certainly wouldn't be moaning about David Moyes then, would you? So you're at that now where you need to take everything with a bit of a pinch of salt, really, until the league settles down. It's normally well settled by this point, and you're sort of looking at things thinking, yeah, this is where you've got that bubble of a 12th to 8th, something like that, where that's where Everton will finish. You can have a general feel for that. This league isn't there for me yet. I'm looking at that thinking, do you know what? I think Forest, when I'm battered Leeds in the end there, and I was thinking Forest were in deep shit. Now I look at Forest and think because he's actually got them moving a bit. Yeah. And they can move up the table quite quickly. What are we now? 5 points above them, are we?
I think so, yeah.
Or 6 points, whatever it is, over Forest.
Table Forest 9. We're on
15, 6
points.
That's how tight things are. But people, I think you've got plenty of evidence to criticise Moyes and clubs have for any other manager, thinking, we're in this position right now, look how far away we are. Like the shite. No, we're 8th. You're 8th, but you're about, 4 points off second? You're only 8 points off the top. It's that stage of the season, really, where I think we've been pretty used to in recent years gone by, that the league's been so structured and almost in its final... In various parts of it are sort of like they'll finish around about that season. That league is wide open there, Les.
Yeah, well, I think the last few seasons, particularly, we've basically just had the bottom 3 who have been the 3 promoted clubs who've been terrible. This season, it's not going to be like that because I know Leeds didn't win at the weekend, but they've got off to a relatively decent start. They're only on 11 points, but they're not in the bottom 3. Sunderland doing brilliantly, 19 points. They'll be fine. So it's not going to be the usual 3 that go down.
Wolves are the only ones that I look at are gone.
Yeah, Wolves look gone, like, but yeah, that's about it, isn't it? Forest
West Ham.
Down. I don't think West Ham.
You can see there's a battle down there. Do you know? And you just hope Everton.
Well, it is.
By battle, I'm talking about I'm talking about like 6 or 7 teams. You just hope Everton are in one of those.
Well, that's it. It does look like there's going to be a relegation fight this season. Because if you go up to, let's say, 11th, Brighton on 16 points. So effectively anyone from 11th down, maybe Palace even on 17th, anyone from there down is kind of involved. I know there's 9 points between, 8 points between Palace and Forest, but like I said, over Christmas, that can flip on its head quite quickly. So I think there is going to be like probably 5 or 6 teams involved. Hopefully we're not. But, you can't really take it for granted, can you, this season?
Well, no, I mean, I think international breaks wreck my head, but, I think it's probably been emphasised a lot on us about how important they are, whether they're good or whether they're bad. For us to go on one now, I think is quite a decent time for us to go on an international break, particularly the fact we've got Man United away on a Monday night when we come back, which I know they've got off to a bit better now. And they look more. Even them, they can get. Did he end up second at some point? Didn't he? Last week.
Well, the
in the
seventh
same way.
now.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's that's how close things are, because
4 points off second.
well, yeah, you've still got half of their fans who'd still get rid of the manager if they could. And that's the way this season is, on a knife edge for everybody in it right now, apart from Arsenal. Um, and everybody's got a position to play for there, and that's when it properly hits. The season properly hits now, because when you go, it's obviously we've had 2 international breaks, but it's normally you just have the one in September, and then that's it until March. Is it? Am I right in
Yeah.
saying they don't normally have this shitty second one? The third one, isn't it? Sorry,
Yeah.
that you've got this week coming up, and that is when there's no break, apart from AFCON, of course. There's no break in Premier League games then, all the way through till next year. So that's when you're properly looking at the way these the places in the league start to settle, and there's little clusters of 3 or 4 within one position, a few points between each other. So where are we positioned? In a relatively decent place,
Yeah.
If I'd have said to you at the start of the season, Everton are 5 points off third place at the end of the start of November, what would you say? You would absolutely bite people's hands off, and that's
Yeah.
where
Do you know what though? I wouldn't think we'd be in 13th spot if you said that, which is a bit
well,
mad, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. But that's my point there. That's why I think it's, and again, it's maybe I'm contradicting myself for me to be the person that says it, but you do need to calm down a little bit here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Because
after the
you don't get back. You got beat by Spurs, and I'm looking at it, I think, wow, we're fucked here. We're gonna finish in the bottom 3. Moyes needs to go. And then I look at the table at the time afterwards. I looked at it, I was like, do you know what? You're 2 wins away from the top 4. What's the panic about now? The only reason you start moaning about it is when we, like I am now already. If we'd got 3 points against Villa, if we'd got 3 points against West Ham, we'd be battling the title right now. But that's
yeah.
what you start thinking about when you get into a position which it is really significant. And important thing to keep in mind is Everton can still have a really, really good season where they can quite comfortably qualify for Europe. Look with the
Yeah. So
position there.
is that what frames the manager's thinking then? Because when you do miss chances like that West Ham game and like Villa, games like Fulham become really important that you win, because you've got to take these chances when you've missed a couple of chances already. That definitely frames the manager's thinking, whereby he's so risk averse anyway. He becomes even more risk averse, so he won't play those players, because it's all about the result. It is about the result, but he needs to look further than that for me, and he needs to start using the squad. I keep banging on about that. I'm doing my own head in with it now, but it is quite frustrating, because I do feel it's going to come and bite us when this AFCON starts. Dave, Christmas is just around the corner, which means January is nearly upon us. As we said, we're going to be missing a couple of key players for that AFCON. Could also be a time when we sell and buy some players. So just with an eye on the transfer window. This Ndiaye and Gueye moving away from Everton feels inevitable at some point. I don't think it'll be January, but it does feel like it's going to happen at some point, because he looks too good for us. Let's not beat around the bush. Basically, Tottenham are interested, as are Newcastle, Juventus, AC Milan, and Atletico Madrid, if you believe the papers. I think getting rid in January will be a bit of a disaster. But I think it's one of those things we're going to have to make peace with soon, is that he is going to attract a lot of attention, because he is our key man. But it's a chance to sort of get some players in. What would you say the priority position is in January? Do you think it's a right back? Do you think it's left back cover? I don't think we can throw any more money at a left back, surely.
No, I don't think we can throw too much at left back either. I think I do feel sorry for Mikalenko at times, but he is so limited. Having said that, it was only 3 years ago when he was getting our play. Did he get our player of the season? I think he
he
did,
did
didn't
one
he?
season, yeah.
Yeah. I just remember he scored that great goal away at Leicester. And I do have sympathy for him at times, but then I look at him and I think when he's on that side with Grealish, it is like chalk and cheese, isn't it? Because he doesn't offer, as much as I've said about Grealish, sort of fit in the plateau. It's because he's got nobody next to him to go and help him there. You're not getting him overlapping much. The most he can do is like square it, or knock it back for he's hitting it first time in for a cross. So left back, you sort of is what it is. I think you need to stay with that, given the issues we've got elsewhere. I mean, yeah, I think that the striker thing, I mean, you've got, what have you got now? 6 weeks, no more than 6 weeks, isn't it? Just over 6 weeks there. You've got Barry, who's had a promising game there, promising couple of games, if you like. And you're thinking, well, do you know what? You keep going with him, you start him, keep Beto on the bench for a while and see if this actually comes to fruition that he's actually going to be an asset for us up front sooner than we thought, sooner than Moyes thought. I think it's quite ironic that he's only getting a start up front because Beto hasn't been good. I don't think he'd be getting anywhere near the amount of game time. Certainly wouldn't be starting games if Beto was even slightly better than what he has been. But nonetheless, he does, and that's the thing in a game, isn't it? Often you end up falling upon something that's better than you'd actually thought, really, and then it changes your mind into a different way. David Moyes is not that sort of manager, really, because he sticks with his guns and doesn't really change for what other people will suggest or other performances will show everyone. But yeah, I mean, I think, do you put striker up there as a priority alone? I think you're in that market, aren't you? When it comes to January, it's loans. No one goes, well, very rare you see someone go and buy silly amounts of money or pay big money on players. You get sort of, a loan deal with a view to buy or whatever it is. I mean, I'd like to see a midfield player, certainly because we've got the AFCON, but also a midfield player that you're happy to keep in a 2 there. I think I mentioned about Rolling maybe being a natural replacement for Garner. Maybe early days to say that, but he's looked promising when he's come on there. And then, we wouldn't be having the conversation of putting James Garner in there to put O'Brien back and right back. So it's which way you decide to go and change that. You either go and get the right back or you need to get an extra midfielder. So you don't have to put Garner in there. So I think that's probably up there for me, Les. And then say a third striker, I get one that's just a bit different than the other two, really. Someone that you can play on the back of the line there, whoever you're playing against, and keep them on the shoulders of them. Someone who's quick, someone who's able to offer something different. Because Everton have become better as a team with the ball on the floor. So why not get a striker who can do the same thing? I think it's logical to me. But there's a lot of other things that I don't think necessarily need too much work. Am I going too far in saying that because we've just gone and won a game 2-0?
It does feel like there's recency bias, doesn't it? But it's like we said before, when we win,
get someone in now.
When we lose, we're going down. Yeah, I think midfield, I think we're sorted there, really, aren't we? There's a lot of different options in there for those. Like you say, when we're only playing 2 in midfield, there's a lot of options to cover those 2 places. And again, Dewsbury Hall can drop back because it's still as good as he was at the weekend. Still don't think he's a number 10 in anyone's book. I think the right back is the one for me, really. But again, Kenny Tete was the only right back available in the summer apparently, and even he didn't have a great game for Fulham. So I don't know. We may have dodged a bullet there. I don't know. It's this is where the recruitment team is in place now, where it wasn't for the summer transfer window. So you'd like to think that now it's fully in place. They've got their act together and they've got a list of players that they can.
Well, it did make me sorry, Les. It did make me think. I mean, Moyes is so remarkably open about the owners saying we've got money. I mean, when would you ever, even if he had, even if he was still there when we had Machirium in his heyday when he's spending all sorts on no one, I still wouldn't have expected Moyes to come out and say we've got plenty of money to spend. He said that. He said we've got the owners to back us. So clearly there's a good relationship there at that side of things, but also what I think it emphasises is you're able to go and do some business in January should you need to. And with him saying that so recently, I think we will. I think he'll look to delve in. What he has in his mind is anyone's guess, really, because whilst we're saying that might well be able to go and get an adequate right back there, so it frees everyone up. It sort of unlocks the door for everyone to play in the positions that they're naturally supposed to play. As good as James Garner's being in that position, that's what you want to go and do. Ideally, in an ideal world, we have a regular right back, and that's like a James Coleman 10 years ago. That's great if you can go and do that. What he'll think, I'm not sure, because given what we've said for most of it, which has been quite highly critical of the manager, and probably rightly so, given the subs issue and Dibbling, for instance, who's not getting a game. Is Moyes going to go in there and look at, I'm going to go and get a first team player? I'm not too sure about that. I don't think I don't think he wants to change two things up based on the fact of the subs that we've seen. Or do you look the other way and think, well, he hasn't put the subs on because he doesn't think they're good enough?
Yeah,
So I'm not too sure. The latter comes towards me a little bit more now thinking about it. But the good thing is the option's there. And I think it's really important, this, because like I've said there, people are on a bit of a knife edge with him, thinking, oh, well, do you know what? We'll be fine. Given how tight the league is, win a couple of games and nobody's saying a bad thing about the manager. But, you go the other way, you lose against Man United and we go within 2 points of the bottom three or whatever. That's when everything's back out and you want Moyes gone. So it's an important window for him. I don't know what do you think he's going to do? Aside from what we like to see, what do you think he's seeing?
I don't know. It's that hard to call, isn't it? Because, like you say, and we said this before, it feels like he's better when he's got like 13 players to choose from. So, like last season, the team effectively picked itself, didn't it? So when he came in, he just picked the same set of players and did well with them. This season, when he's had more options, he's still doing the same thing. So it's like, I don't know. I don't think he wants any more options, like you say. I think he'd be quite happy to put Jake O'Brien at right back for the foreseeable, James Garner in midfield with Ndiaye and Gueye. So, like I said, midfield well stocked. I don't think we need anyone there. I think if we do buy a right back, it's got to be someone who goes straight into the team. We can't buy like Adam Asney, but as a right back now. So another development player who won't get a game. I think that's the key area for me, because I think we saw on Saturday it made so much difference having a fullback who could get forward. Now you can look at the other side, like you said, Mykolenko does a decent job defensively, but he's very limited in going forward, and that does sort of stunt any progress we can make down that side, particularly because Jack Grealish isn't a fast player. So he very rarely just like sort of beats a man. He never beats a man with pace, just sort of chicks his way past. So that could be an issue as well. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I'd like to think we'd get right back covering. Really, I think that's probably the priority position. And you say as well, a striker, someone who offers something different, but it being January, you're over the barrel, really, aren't you? No one wants to get rid of the best players, obviously, certainly not in January. But then selling clubs know that you either need a player because you're trying to avoid relegation or you're trying to make a push for the top, in which case the price goes up. Hard to get a loan as well, because he wants to loan out the best players. It's a tricky window, but like I said, I think with the recruitment team in place, you'd like to think they've got a plan to plug any gap that they can see in that squad. But yeah, it's anyone's guess, isn't it?
Yeah, and I feel like they're not going to dive straight in either. I mean, how many times we looked at it thinking you need to go sign as soon as strike of midnight comes a new year.
January 31st, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there needs to be a little bit more caution there, because what have we got? I mean, there's a load of games here, and we're probably talking in about 4 or 5 weeks' time. Let's say you've got to go and desperately get someone in because someone else is shite. That could easily be the thing there, or we're saying, why hasn't Moyes changed it? Because that other person's been playing shite. That's probably the more likely thing to happen. And I think you're right. I think what you've put to a good point there is, you think of Moyes in general on his time with Everton. He's always been better when he's had back against the wall, hasn't he? He's not, or he's certainly not shown to be a good manager when he's got options or money to play with. And maybe I feel a little bit unfortunate with him like that, because he's never had money to spend, so therefore he's gone through his whole career without knowing what to do with it.
Yeah.
But now he has. I mean, he's always liked it, hasn't he? He's always liked doing that. Whenever we're at the best under David Moyes, you weren't able to play a player in their natural position. He's gone and done that with James Garner, and it's been fine. Maybe he's looking at things like that, really. Maybe he's just looking for players to get in that are back up. I don't think he'll be looking into it thinking that I need to get a first 11 player. And that, I think, is quite frightening to many of us. Certainly is to me, with the lack of options we have in terms of a forward, plus the AFCON to go. I think you've got to look like you're going to go and get a couple of regular players in there. Ones that you aren't just going to be sitting on the bench like a dibbling for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is he the one you've got though, Les? Is he the answer? Your answer might well be sitting right in front of you there. AFCON, whatever, injury, heaven forbid that happens with Ndiaye, Grealish as well. Say that happens there. You got Dibbling, and where you have a lot of sympathy with him is if he gets thrown in at the deep end, but he's had about like 3 minutes through the entirety of the season. It's not fair on that lad. He's got to go on there and shine like that. And I know we've signed and paid a lot of money for a talented lad, but it's still, he's not exactly bedded himself into all of this, has he, other than when they're playing a five-a-side game at training at Finch Farm. So that's a problem Moyes has got that he needs to address as a manager, really. He might shock us, and like when Dibbling does get a game, he's electrifying because he's a natural talent, or Moyes has been brilliant with him and training. We're not privy to that information there, but he's got a headache. He has got a headache, and he's got a lot of games to look at this as well. Really, whilst he's got to get results with them, he's also got to have a look and think, what do I need to go and get in January? So I think it's pivotal for him. It's pivotal for his time with us, Les, because even though people are saying I'd get rid of him, I think that those calls are always going to come quite quickly anyway, because a lot of people didn't want him in the first place.
Yeah,
we've said that about several managers, haven't we, in the years gone by? So he certainly doesn't help himself, but it does feel like when Everton lose a game, you're immediately. I've seen today, I was just seeing a couple of messages then as we're talking, people saying they want rid of Liverpool's manager who just went and won the league 10 games ago. It's the way fans are these days. But Moyes, I hate the term credit in the bank, but if you've got to give him leeway to go and do what he's thinking of doing in a window, if it's nothing, we'll all be fuming. If it's something that's not first team player, we'll be fuming. So the pressure cooker's on for him, I think.
Yeah, it's like you say, where we are in the league, it is very sort of in the balance, and it's going to be for the whole season probably, because, like we said, I think there's going to be a bit of a relegation scrap this season, and we could be there, we could be pushing for Europe, we could be fighting against relegation. It's all very much in the balance. No Everton this weekend because it's an international break, like we said. Our next game is Man United away on the 24th, and then the games come thick and fast. It's going to be a big couple of months for Everton, big 6 weeks leading up to January. It's going to be a big January. Let us know in the comments what you think about where our priority positions should be for any transfers coming in and any transfers going out as well. We might need to trim bits of the squad as well. So let us know what you think. That's it for this week's Blue Monday. Coming up this week, we've got the byline tomorrow. The schedule's back to normal now. Should have the weekly on Wednesday. Mailbag. No match preview because there's no match, obviously. And I'll be back to Blue Monday again. So all the usual stuff coming up this week. We'll have old new borrowed blue on the free feed as well this week from Hardacre. So listen out for that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. That's been this week's Blue Monday. And it's been a happy Monday for once. Get in, up the toffees.